I am on Whitechapel High Street. This park on the left, this is Altaf Ali Park. It was previously known St. Mary's Park, which was damaged in I think in First World War. Now this Altaf Ali Park, it was named after a British Bangladeshi leather worker who was murdered in 1978 by three teenage boys in a racist attack apparently. Now back then I guess there was a lot of racism, but we have come a long way since then. But recently there are some forces which are stealing that negativity all over again. So that okay, we are now here in Aldgate East Station. So that park was bombed in Second World War by German aerial bombings. It's a prime location. It's about probably 10-15 minutes walking distance from here to Liverpool Street Station, and probably about 20 minutes walk to Tower Bridge. There is Brick Lane around here, and this building you see in front, this is Sky Gardens. The entrance is free, where you can go on the rooftop to get a nice view of London, of the whole skyline. We are on Whitechapel High Street. We are turning right, and there is a bus 254 going towards Holloway, I guess. So all the modern buildings you see around here, you would see a contrast of modern building versus the older ones. These modern buildings, which you would see quite a lot in this part of London, all of them were built in the past 10-15 years. I'm on bus 205, which is going towards Marble Arch near Hyde Park and Oxford Street. You see, like these are new modern buildings on the left and right, and there's some old buildings. We are approaching Duke's Place. These trees kind of reminds me of Manhattan. It kind of have that Manhattan, New York look. You have sky-rise, high-rise buildings and streets, but obviously these streets are much more narrower. So this is Duke Street. It was a very poor area back in the 1870s. It had a growing Jewish population, and between 1880 and 1914, between those 24 years, about 34 years, about 150,000 Jews migrated from Eastern Europe and Russia to London, to this part. They were fleeing economic hardship and religious persecution back then. And at that time, First World War hadn't started. You can see there's a lot of construction going on, and all these glass buildings you see, these were built in the past 10-15 years. And there's some construction going on in front. You can see the cranes and everything. I think here on the left, if you turn left here, because we are turning right towards the left, it will take you to Tower Bridge. And now we are approaching Liverpool Street Station. This area is all office areas. Today is Sunday. Most of the people around here, they're tourists and some local. But on weekdays, this place is full of office workers. If you go to Old Spitalfields Market on a weekday, you would find the whole area full of office workers during lunchtime. And we are approaching Liverpool Street Station. On the left here, you see this white glass covering or building. So Liverpool street station, it opened in 1874. And from here you can take trains to East England and obviously to other parts of London. But it was opened in 1874, and it was also one of the victim of air raids, bombings in First World War. And this place was the arriving point of many Jewish refugees during Second World War. And there is old Spitalfields and Brick Lane on the right somewhere, where you can look for vintage items, food and things. As I said earlier, this is a prime location. Tower Bridge and St. Paul's Cathedral are not far away from here. Both of them are about half an hour walking distance in some directions. You can see there is some construction on the left. You can go to Sky Gardens and Horizon 22, those buildings, for stunning views of London, where you can get the panoramic views of the city skyline for free. Entry is for free, but you will have to book in advance on their website. And apparently every Monday they release new tickets. I'm sure this area is quite nice, especially the streets around this area for a cycle ride, to explore the whole area. Today's Sunday, that's why these roads are quite empty. They're not busy. But on a weekday, this area gets very busy. You see these modern buildings on the left, the sky high-rise buildings. And we have an old building probably from 1920s on the left. And you see some graffiti. This area was quite old and derelict, but now the whole area is changing. There's a lot of construction all over, but you can see like this area was quite old and rugged. Probably in next 10-15 years we're now gonna have these old shops on the right, and everything will change because there's a lot of investment coming in to London. And that's a nice looking bridge. Okay, it's a railway bridge. And we are turning left here. So we were held by traffic light just a few seconds ago, and now there were some more red lights. I don't know, the driver went through. Not sure about that. And we have a nice looking colorful building on the left. American Car Wash. Looks like it's an empty building, and someone opened up a car wash here, and they named it American Car Wash. I know there are a lot of American candy shops on Oxford Street and also in Camden Town, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, American, I don't know. The name is very strange, American Car Wash. And there's some more red lights. You can see there are a lot of traffic lights in this part of London. There's some old shops on the left, some food shops like Itsu. I think Itsu have a Korean style food, I guess, if I'm not mistaken. And there's a fire brigade. No, it's not a fire brigade truck. We are on a four-lane road. So okay, so this is bus lane, and on the right-hand side is a bus lane, and then there are 2 lanes for ordinary vehicles. I think we are approaching Old Street Station, if I'm not mistaken. Love is the running towards, I don't know, okay. You can see, this whole area is quite rough. And there's a pink looking shop. Okay, looks like a bar. So you could imagine, like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, this area was much more worse. Because all these modern buildings, these came in the past 10, 15 years. And that's a 20-mile zone. Most of London is nowadays 20-mile zone. Old street. And there's a nice looking building on the left. And there's a bike on the footpath on the left. You hear this whooshing sound. That whooshing sound is from the air conditioning, from the AC of the bus. That's why you hear this whooshing sound. There's a colorful building on the right. And there's a high-rise building right in front. Nice looking building with a peculiar style. There are some glass buildings on either side of the road, and there's a nice looking canal. I'm not sure what that is on the left. This one looks like a steel house. I'm not sure what that is. And the lights are green, and we are on our way. There are some shops on the right, and there's a nice looking flower shop. Spice and Alive. It looks so good, like to have these green trees on the sides of the road, and looks like that's a park on the left. It's good to have, greenery. I wish, like we had these green trees all around. Earlier we were on 4-lane road, and now we have 2 lanes. So 1 lane, for the buses and for the ordinary vehicles and other cars and vans. It makes it quite difficult to drive. I mean, today is Sunday, it's okay, but on a weekday, it would be a nightmare to drive on these roads. It looks like there are some residential houses on either side of the road. Are we turning left? Oh, okay, we are, I think. No, we are not turning left. We are going straight ahead. And looks like these are apartments on the left. I like these old style apartments. We are approaching Angel and Islington. What's that on the left? Is it a cafe or what? Not sure. And there's a nice looking old building. Angel, Islington, okay. King's Cross is not far away from here. And we have a clock tower on the left. Nice looking clock tower. Prior to the 18th century, people didn't have watches. So these clock towers played an important role to inform people about their prayer times and to inform surrounding community for work by sounding bells or chimes. Now, some clock towers were previously built as bell towers and then had clocks added to them later at some point. And that's a nice looking building. I don't know when that was built, but it was built nicely, standing tall gracefully. We are not far away from King's Cross now. For a charity shop. It's a nice looking shop for a charity shop. This road is kind of cleaner and smoother. Normally when a road is not leveled up, then you would hear a lot of bumpy noises, especially like that bus when it shakes, it has that cranky noise. which can be quite annoying. So we don't have that noise on this bus, but we have this air conditioning noise, that whooshing noise. If you noticed, you hear this whooshing sound. Yeah, that's sound coming from the air conditioning of this bus. Okay, I'm on bus 205, and there's a bus in front of us which is 205, which is going all the way to Marble Arch near Hyde Park and Oxford Street. Self-storage. Did you notice that self-storage on the left? I've seen these kind of self-storage places quite a lot. There's one huge place in Greenford in West London, and here this one looks like a booming business. Is that a park on the right? Looks like it. There's some old houses and modern buildings. Okay, King's Cross. We have arrived in King's Cross. I think this is Caledonian Road, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, probably it is, yeah, because it says Caledonia House. Okay, we're gonna go through this narrow path. There's a nice looking church on the left. They used to build really nice, beautiful buildings back in 17th century in those days. Looks like that's it's not a construction site on the left, but probably in a few years time you would find a modern building here on this side. Who knows? Okay, we are approaching King's Cross station, and St. Pancras is not far away from here either. King's Cross station and St. Pancras, they are less than 5 minutes walking distance. From King's Cross you can take trains to different parts of England, and from St. Pancras you can take it to all the way to Paris. Zoya Grill and Lounge. Okay, this is King's Cross station, you know, the one with the flag Britannica and English flag. That's King's Cross station. So the station itself, it was opened in 1850, and Queen Victoria used King's Cross station in 1851 to travel to Scotland, and this beautiful building is St. Pancras station underneath it, and this is nowadays St. Pancras Renaissance Hotel. You know, I love this building. It's a Gothic masterpiece. It is absolutely stunning. Look at that. It is absolutely stunning. You know, back in 1960s, they wanted to demolish it, this iconic building, but I'm glad they reversed their decision. And the clock tower is beautiful. This station was built in 1866. And this Renaissance Hotel. So okay, from here you can take trains all the way to Paris. And this Renaissance Hotel is one of the expensive hotels. A room would cost you well over £300 a night. And that, you see British Library on the right. It has quite a lot of information on businesses. It's a good place for business research, and a good place to hang around. They have some food areas and cafes. It's quite a big library. It's a huge, I wouldn't say huge, but it's quite a big library. Pullman Hotel. Okay, this is Euston Road, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, this is Euston Road. Camden is not far away from here. There's a high-rise building, probably built in 1970s, not sure. On the right-hand side, there are places like Camden probably about 20-25 minutes walking distance from here towards right. So okay, before the 18th century, Euston was a farmland, and Camden Town was a village. So if you go in one of those streets on the right, it would take you to Camden. But then after Second World War, many Greek communities, Cypriot people from Cyprus, and Asian community, they moved to this part of London. And you would still find a lot of Bangladeshi community towards on the right, between Euston and Camden. And it looks like this is a church on the left. This road on the left, it will take you to Chancery Lane and Holborn. And this on the right, we have Euston Station. And this on the left, if I'm not mistaken, it is Friend's house. Looks like there's some construction going on the right. This is Euston Station. If you noticed, there's not much distance between Euston Station and St. Pancras and King's Cross. This on the left-hand side, most of the buildings and properties are owned by or occupied by University College London, UCL, one of the oldest London universities. Phil Action, that's one of my favorite footballer. He's French. He was French footballer. Thierry Henry. As I said earlier, on the left-hand side, there's UCL campuses, and this is UCL Hospital, University College Hospital. This is one of their entrances, and behind this building, UCL has some more hospital buildings, and they have Macmillan Center as well on the left. You see these tents? These are tents of homeless people. You would find homeless people here. Then on the left-hand side, behind the buildings, you would find many homeless people. I'm not sure why the government is not doing anything about it, to help them in different ways. And there was, I think, Warren Street station was on the left, which I kind of missed it. And you can see some more homeless people on the left and right. You see these buildings on the right. These were built in the past 10-15 years. And then on the left we have old buildings. Maybe they looked quite great back in the days, in 60s and 70s, but not anymore. I feel for homeless people, it's not nice, to see people sleeping rough. Now the weather is okay, but in winter it gets really cold and windy. You can see some construction going on the left, and there are some modern buildings on the right, glass buildings, and old buildings on the left. Most of these are office buildings. But if you have a bicycle, these are quite nice. This is a quite nice area to explore, riding on a bike. And there's a nice looking, I think it's a church. Back in the old days, I think in 18th century, 17th century, they used to make some solid buildings. Great Portland Street station. Yeah, you must have noticed that Warren Street and Euston stations are not far away from here. And if you go straight ahead, probably 5 minutes walk from here, straight, there is a Regents Park tube station. And you can say Regents Park kind of starts from here all the way here. It's quite a huge park. It's a beautiful park. It's worth exploring. Actually, it's one of my favorite park, and for many years it was my local park. For over 10 years it was my local park. Actually, for 15 years, yeah, it was my local park. And I'm not sure what is this building on the left with American flag and Spanish flag. That's Regents Park. This is one of its entrances. It has many entrances. One of the entrances is from even Camden, and one from Primrose Hill, I guess. And I think on the left this is a private park. So this is Regents Park Station bus stop, and that in front on the left is Regents Park Station. You can walk from here to Marylebone Station. Probably it would take you about 20 minutes more or less, and you can see there's some road works as usual. I mean, number one, like these roads are not huge, and then when they block it because of road works, it makes it just even tinier. It's a nightmare for drivers. But these narrow roads are used by buses, coaches, taxis, and black cabs and mini cabs, and by everyone, by bikers and everyone. And there are some nice residential houses on the right, and some more roadworks, and there is Harley Street somewhere here. I think this one was Harley Street on the left, if I'm not mistaken. Harley Street is quite popular for its private doctors and hospitals. You would find many wealthy and rich people going to these clinics on Harley Street. And this on the right is a residential area. I'm not sure what their rents are, but I can assume they can be very expensive. There's a lot of traffic, as you can see, but today's Sunday. On Sunday afternoon, we don't have much traffic, but this place can be these places are very busy on weekdays, because all this area is packed of offices, and people come from different parts of outside of London to their offices. We are approaching Baker Street Tube Station, and that building on the right with flags, that is Madame Tussauds. And on the left, this building is the University of Westminster. Okay, Madame Tussauds was founded by a French lady in 1835. And nowadays it's a tourist hotspot. And on the right we have Baker Street. And if you turn on the right, it's about 5 minutes or maybe 3 minutes walking distance to Marylebone Station. This is Baker Street Tube Station bus stop. So yeah, Madame Tussauds is nowadays is a tourist hotspot where you can find historical figures, statues of famous actors, historical figures. I went there some years ago, probably 10-15 years ago. I didn't really find it interesting, but we are turning left. This is Baker Street. If you walk from here, it would take you about 20 minutes straight down to Oxford Street. You can see there are shops on either side of the road. There are many food places like McDonald's and Itsu. You can get your food from Sainsbury's. Again, this place can be quite busy on weekdays because there are many offices on this road on Baker Street. But on Saturday morning, on Sunday morning, this place is like a ghost town. But since it's afternoon time, you would find some people hanging around. You would find tourists in this area. So this is Dorset Street bus stop. Okay, this is Baker Street. Well, obviously the name of the bus stop is Dorset Street. Dorset Street is not far away from here. I'm not sure where. I've seen it, but I don't know where it is. This glass building on the right holds many offices. Gallery house. There are many restaurants, some Japanese, some Chinese. There's some hotels on this road. As I said earlier, Oxford Street is close by. It's not far away from here. You can get from here, to Oxford Street probably in 2-3 minutes. Hyde Park in about 5 minutes. Looks like that's a park on the right. It's a private park if I'm not mistaken. Straight ahead is Oxford Street. Okay, Oxford Street is Europe's busiest shopping street. It has about 300 shops and it is about 2 kilometers long. So this place, we are turning right, but straight ahead that's Oxford Street. At some stage we will get to Oxford Street. But Oxford Street has been a shopping area since 1700s. There was a lady called Sophie von La Roche. I hope I pronounced her name properly, but she described her visit to this street one evening in 1786 as a multitude of shops lit by argand lamps behind handsome glass windows. Confectioners, fruiterers, watchmakers, silversmiths, spirit booths selling strong drink, glass shops, china shops, silk shops, lamp shops, and others. So we know that from this place, Oxford Street have had shops since 1700s, and that's a private park on the right with a empty bench. So what happened, like in COVID times, in COVID pandemic, and then the subsequent shutdown brought closures to many shops like Debenhams, the House of Fraser, and Topshop. So COVID pandemic many people suffered, many people suffered emotionally, financially, and those scars can be quite deep. Imagine, you built a shop or a business for the past 20-30 years, and then now a pandemic comes and it ruins everything, and some people they never recover. I think we are turning left. Yes, we are turning left in these narrow roads. There are some hotels on the right here. Portman Mews South, and there's a long queue of cars, and that's one of the hotels. In front of that there's another hotel, Thistle. You can see Middle Eastern people from Gulf countries sipping their teas. We are approaching Marble Arch Station, and that's Primark on Oxford Street, and that's Flag Britannica. Okay, we will take our belongings since this bus is terminating in Marble Arch. We will be turning right. Okay, this street, Oxford Street, is 2 kilometers long. There are shops everywhere, and people say, like, if you cannot sell on this street, it means you cannot sell anywhere. And this is our last stop, Marble Arch. Tube station is there on the right. Okay, I'm here now in Marble Arch, in one of the roundabouts. You see this Marble Arch? It was not originally here. It was originally in Buckingham Palace, where the king resides. And then I think in 1840s they relocated it here near the Hyde Park.